Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I'm here to talk to you about my Patreon page campaign thing again, still. I'm going to tell you what's happening right now, and I'm going to tell you why it's happening, and then I'm going to give you some background on this whole thing, because this does sort of all come together from historical usage. So, what's happening now is that this is the video that's explaining my current Patreon campaign. That's what's happening now. I already said that. If you're not familiar with what Patreon is a platform that enables people who make free content to have a method by which their followers can contribute directly in a Kickstarter-esque method. Kickstarter is a platform that lets you crowdsource funding for particular projects, and then allows you to give rewards for that particular project. So it's like, you donate so much, you get something cool, and you donate so much more, then you get something else cool, that kind of thing. And Patreon is basically that. The difference between Patreon and Kickstarter is that Patreon's whole point is that you're supposed to do that per a particular creation. So like if it's a webcomic, that's like every comic, people they pay a certain amount of money per comic. They also have a setup that works for monthly, which is what I do. It's a per month of the video creation is what mine's for. So it allows content that is not traditionally able to be monetized in a sustainable way to be directly monetized, and while also creating engagement with followers and patrons to via rewards and that kind of thing. To this extent, I do have rewards for my Patreon campaign. It goes like this. At the $2 level, you have my danks, my ultra danks. I dank you. At $12, I will give you feedback for a track of yours or friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be a track on yours, but if you give me a track, I will give feedback on it. At $25, I'll put you in the credits for videos on YouTube. There's actually a credits space on YouTube videos that I've never used before, but if you do that much per month, each month, I will put you in one of them. It'll be pretty sweet. $40 will get you a video mention, which is to say that I will mention your name, I'll mention a link, and I'll promo you yourself, in the video. Essentially giving you like sponsorships position. That's kind of what that is. $75, I will design for you a sound of your choosing in a format of your choosing, depending on if I can. Like, if you tell me to make you an Ableton Live project, I'm probably gonna have a hard time with that. But if you tell me to do it like with Massive, for example, I probably could, or Serum, or any of the other plugins that I'm able to use. I'll figure it out. For $125, I will give you a half-hour personal Skype chat, video or otherwise. Now, you might know that I do lessons. I do $75 per hour lessons. I am going to actually increase the price for 2016, but for the time being, it's cheaper than $125 for twice as long. So why bother doing that? And the answer to that is that my lessons only happen at very specific times. It's actually every Tuesday and Thursday, and I only do 2 of them a day, Tuesday and Thursday. And I'm booked until December. So the Skype chat, it'll be a bit more liberally scheduled and fit more towards your schedule as opposed to mine, so that we're able to make it happen. Because it's a half hour, it's also not like, it's not going to be hardcore. So it's something that I can be more lenient about. For $200, I will do a track in the genre of your choosing. It'll still be my track. I'm not going to give you the track, but just on my next EP or something, it'll be a track on there that is a genre that you have decided I would do. And for $500, you get to appear in a video. Not totally sure how that's going to work, but I will find a way to make that work. Somehow, some way, you'll be in a video. You can talk about what you want. You can promote what you want within reason. We'll, of course, discuss this ahead of time and record it ahead of time. It's not going to be a live stream kind of thing. Those are my rewards. I also have various goals. Patreon allows you to have goals that if you meet a certain amount of money per, thing, which for me it's per month, then I set goals that I want to reach. So if I get $500 a month, then I will release a free 50 sample pack. Just for everybody, not just patrons, like literally everybody. That also exemplifies something that I want to point out is that I really don't ever want to make content that's not free. Like if I make a video, if I make a pack or whatever, that's not available to everybody is what I mean. Like Patreon has a lot of infrastructure set up that I could do patron only things, and I'm not going to really take advantage of that. If I make something available, if I make a video, if I make a pack, I want everybody to be able to partake in it. Not necessarily for free, because I also sell sample packs, but this particular pack will be available for everybody, regardless if you did not actually pledge to get me there. But you really should. For $1,000, I will do a second track from scratch. I actually am not currently doing a track from scratch, but I should be doing a track from scratch. I should be doing at least one track from scratch all the time. And then on top of that, if I reach $1,000 a month, I will do 2 a week. Pretty great. Well, a day. In concurrent running, it takes a lot more than a week to make a track from scratch for me. And then if I reach $1,500 a month, ducks. I almost said ducks. I probably have said ducks already. Second 50 pack, free 50 sample pack of 50 samples. Damn, that word. It's like synthesize. And if I reach $2,500 a month, I'll go back to 3 videos a day. There's a reason why that's pretty high, and that's because it's really hard. But I will do it because that's a lot of money, and it'll definitely be worth my while, so to speak. And then I have another goal that says $5,000, and says I don't even know, because I don't know. I have no idea what I would do if I had that much money. But I'll find the way to show my appreciation if you somehow manage to pull that off. So, now, the way this all works, especially for goals, is that that's all after processing. So, like, once all the numbers are in and people who have been declined, you get declined, then whatever's left is the number that actually reaches it. Because you could pledge $1 billion, but if I actually get it, then it's not going to count towards any kind of goal. So it's all going to be in post. Haha. Yeah. So now let's talk about history. And this is necessary for understanding, just because I did do the Patreon thing for a long time. Like when Patreon was brand new, I was all about it. I was on board. And I learned a lot of stuff about commerce, as it were. All the reason why I do lessons at all is because lessons originally were a Patreon reward. And I noticed that people were signing up for Patreon specifically to get lessons from me, so that's why I made lessons a separate thing. I don't really want Patreon rewards to be a service. It's a reward for you donating to me because you want to support me, and then you get a cool perk. I really don't want people doing it because of the perk, although I'm sure they will, and you do what you want, really. But I could already foresee, for example, the sound design commission to end up later. I'm gonna have to make that its own thing. But I also learned I set particular levels for some of these goals, like, feedback used to not be that much, and then the tracking and genre choosing used to not be that much, and that's just because I got a lot more interest in that than I initially anticipated, and it meant that I ended up spending all of my time addressing rewards, which, like, is awesome because it meant people were into it. But the entire point of me doing a Patreon campaign like this is that I want to enable myself to not have to rely on jobs to sort of support myself in order to create the free content. What I mean by jobs is not necessarily like, I'll go work for McDonald's or whatever. I mean stuff like the lessons. Every once in a while I do like a commission tutorial series for other people, like Sonic Academy or Base Gorilla, that kind of thing. Or like making packs and designing merch and that kind of thing. All this other stuff that like makes me money, that is also very time consuming, and it takes away from me being able to do things like the videos. And the videos I really have always wanted to be the main thing, and it's definitely been suffering because of just current, poor planning on my part, but also because as much as I'm kind of starting to hit the point where I'm making critical mass with the YouTube stuff, it's still not enough. And I also have grand master plans for the future that requires that I make a lot of money, and I don't want it to take 10 years to make the goal that I want, to do the things that I want. And also the whole bunch of other stuff that I want to do that, like, I need to have the time to do, because, like, designing a live show, for example, is a very long and intensive process, and I make absolutely no money while I'm doing it. Or like, sitting around making my next EP is a thing that I do, that I make absolutely no money while I'm doing it. So I need to be able to support that time spent doing so, because time is money and that kind of thing. And that's the purpose of doing the Patreon campaign. So for a while, I went back off of the Patreon thing. I basically took away all the rewards, I took away all the goals, and I just kept it on just donate if you want to. And that was fine. And that's because I made enough money back from those other jobs I was talking about. But having lived in a world where those jobs were my main deal for so long, I have decided that I want to try and get as far away from that as possible. Like, ultimately, my ultimate super cool, kick-ass, great goal would be that I could survive entirely on the YouTube stuff. I mean, honestly, anybody's goal is that they want to survive on doing one thing. But if you ever watch my video on how to make money as being a producer, I always suggest that you do, more than one thing to do that. And that's something that's always going to be the case. However, there is only so much time in a day, in a month, in a week, in a year. And so I gotta, be smarter about it. And Patreon and stuff that I could be doing with Patreon is very much an untapped thing for me. And the more that I get from Patreon, the less that I have to do outside the videos, which means the more time I can spend to do videos, and also the more time I can spend to do stuff like learning how to do the modular stuff, and like learning how to do like live show business that I want to try to do, and like learning making music at all, and that kind of thing. So that there's a whole bunch of that going on. And so then I've decided to turn it around, and I'm gonna. That's what this video is. Thanks for sticking around for this whole thing. If you did, damn, kind of a lot. But yeah. So ultimately, I guess that all makes sense. It's pretty self-explanatory, the entire process and the whole thing. And the history is important just to get an idea for why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. But if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. And as usual, have a nice day.